Okay.
On May the 7th, it's the birthday of Olympe de Gouges, a philosopher during the French Revolution. Today, we invite Sandrine Berges to tell us what is the impact of Olympe de Gouges' philosophy.
Hi, Ruth, and thanks for inviting me to celebrate Olympe de Gouges' birthday. I think Olympe de Gouges' impact isn't quite as big now as it ought to be. That's why I really want to encourage everyone to go and read Olympe de Gouges. And all her texts are available online, whether in English or French, and probably in other languages too. So go ahead and Google her. I think the reason she's so very important is mostly because she was something that we really need nowadays. She was a public philosopher. And I don't mean a public philosopher in the sense that some philosophers are public, which means they're always on social media, in the papers, on TV, that people go and ask them what they think, and then they give sometimes interesting but not very applicable answers to questions. Olympe de Gouges was public because she actually cared for the public, and she involved herself in what the public had to deal with. She was part of them. She wasn't an aristocrat. She lived in Paris. She lived in a place which meant she had to walk around and meet people. And what she did was that in her philosophical writings, she addressed the public and she engaged with them. So all her publications, philosophical publications, were written and printed on big posters that she went and pasted all around Paris, so that people in Paris could just walk around and read them, or have somebody read it to them and find out what she was doing. And her work was also designed to help the public. So she had a piece that actually made it in newspapers, and that was very influential at the time, about reacting against the Paris famine in the winter of '88. She had, of course, her very famous Rights of Women, where she addressed the Queen, but also all the French people, asking them to protest against the way women were being treated, and asking them to make sure women got to be considered full citizens just like men. And she was also a very staunch abolitionist. And unlike a lot of the philosophers of her time, she didn't prevaricate, she didn't give to pressure. A lot of them decided that, well, just like the women would have to wait a little bit in order to get their rights, the slaves would have to wait a bit in order to be emancipated, and that for now we'd just concentrate on the rights of the already freed men of color, and not the women of color, obviously, and then just leave the slaves alone for now. She didn't do that. She carried on fighting right till the end for abolition. And then she took on giants. So she argued philosophically against Rousseau, which was a big deal at the time, because Rousseau was pretty much the new divinity of the French Revolution. And all the women loved him, but she took him on. And in particular, she took him on about what he had to say about women and families. And then she took on Robespierre famously, and that didn't end well for her because she died at the guillotine. And she also took on people like Beaumarchais. So Beaumarchais was a very influential, very famous playwright at the time. And Olympe de Gouges was also a playwright, which is one of the wonderful things about her. She was not just a philosopher, she was an artist. And then she took on Beaumarchais, who kind of tried to block one of her productions. And then she was not afraid of telling these very famous people who could have her blocked from the theater, who could have her killed. She was not afraid of telling them that they were wrong and that she was right.
This was fantastic. Thank you very much, Sandrine.